Hello everyone, I'm Alistair and welcome to the Timberborn tutorial about the irrigation and contamination. I want to explore what's the best way to block the contamination especially, or not even the best way, but the other options, or what you can do, what works, what doesn't, because I was experimenting a little bit in my playthroughs. So I prepared this magnificent map. There is no better level design than mine, as you can see. And I will be experimenting with this. So let's first try the irrigation barriers, how well it will work. Yeah, you can see the contamination slowly getting away. Let's build it around the whole bad water source. And let's see how well it works. Oh, you see it completely blocks it off. But it needs to be built on top of the dirt. But what if you have something like this? What if you are on the same level as the river and you just blocking on some maps with the levees? Will that work? Will this be enough? Okay, so we have two other options here. This is just levees built on top of the soil. So it is not buried deeper. As you can see, it's only on the same level as is the bad water right now. And they are blocking it quite well. But still, there is at least one block behind them that is contaminated. But this is a viable solution because it's much cheaper. You see, one levee costs 12 logs. But for these irrigation barriers, you need 5 treated planks, at least in an iron tooth. We will look for the folktales too later. And for the irrigation barrier, you need 10 logs and 5 treated planks. You must build them on the ground, and you can't build parts on top of it. As you can see, there is nothing you can build on top of it. No buildings, nothing. The only thing you can put on top is the platforms. You can build platforms on top of them. So that's why I usually prefer building levees. But how to get rid of this one block of the contamination that it's still seeping through just with levees? Well, you can take dynamite and dig 2 blocks deep. Like this. So you have a hole with 2 deep, and then you will build 2 layers of the levees on top of each other. And now let's see if that will work. It should. And this, when you have only one block and you have a lower ground here than the water, or on the same level as the water, better said, as you can see, the contamination will spread much further. Because here the ground is a little bit higher, so it is spreading only 1 block behind it, but here it's spreading what, 7 blocks? 6 blocks away from the levees. So as you can see here, where we build those levees too deep, they are completely blocking all the contamination. And you could do something similar here with this. If you really want to have the ground lower compared to the water, or you don't have an access to the terrain blocks or dirt yet, you can do the same. You should be able to just dig this 1 deeper, or maybe you will need to dip it 2 deeper. Let's try one more. I mean 1 deep, and then again, just like we've done here in this section, we will build 2 layers of the levees. 2 layers of the levees, and now we just will wait. You see, the corruption is already leaving, and it is not spreading further behind these blocks. Yes, it is spreading here, and that's because of this corner. If we are going to treat this corner the same way, it should go away. So let's see. Let's do the same 2 layers of levees. You see, 2 layers of the levees perfectly works. And there is no contamination whatsoever. So you can use levees quite effectively to block all the contamination, but the problem with it is that it is blocking the irrigation too. But when you are playing for Iron Tooth, that doesn't matter if you use irrigation barriers or levees, because both of them will be blocking irrigation and bad water contamination. But you can definitely use the levees like this. But now let's see how it will work with the irrigation. What about that? Okay, so we have a new water canal here. So you can see it's going nice and green. And if we plant these irrigation barriers, you will see that it will start blocking the irrigation. As the name implies, irrigation barrier. You see, this is completely dry here in the middle now. So that's one of the disadvantages of playing as an Iron Teeth. Because their irrigation barriers are blocking irrigation, not just the contamination. So if you use irrigation barriers around your water source, this will happen. But let's see if it will be the same with the levees, because I have no idea. So let's try that. Okay, one layer of the levees. Okay, so they are blocking the irrigation a little bit, not completely like the irrigation barrier, but you can see it's going from how many? This is, let's go here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 blocks approximately of the irrigation, down to 8-ish of the irrigation. So yeah, it's almost only the half of it. And you must count in that you just get rid of one block of the dirt for building the levees. So it is not as bad. So if you are building a canals or something, it can be still used. And I like the levees more because I can build a road on top of it. Or anything else without need to be building first the platforms on top. Okay, so both ways it works. Let's now check how the irrigation barrier, whatever it is called, works with the folktale. Okay, the same map, the same scenario. Let me just add the water source so we can test it out. Okay, we have a water source and we have a bad water source. They are overlapping a little bit, but that should be fine. So let's see what they have. They have a contamination barrier, the folktale, so stops soil contamination from spreading beneath it. But this should not stop water from irrigating. And of course, the same as the irrigation barrier, you can't build anything except for the platforms on top of them. As you can see, the contamination blocking works perfectly fine. Here the same, and you see there is no irrigation blocking. So it works perfect for the folktale, but you can still use the levees as before. Especially when you are building like canals like I do, that I want to make them nice and blocky, squarish. You can still use the levees without any, I like my canals to be decorated, and I'm using even a mod. You don't need to, but regular levees are in a vanilla game, so that's fine. Let's use them. So I have a canal like this, which I like to build, and if there is a bad tide in the main canal, you can use the slices here. Where are they? Something like this, and close them if the contamination is too high. And to block contamination from reaching here to the land that you want to have irrigated, you can make a double layer of the levees, or maybe build an contamination barrier bin behind it. Let's do this quickly, it's faster now. And I like using these decoration blocks from the mod, because I love nice canals like this. And we have a nice regulated canal, but the irrigation is not that great. So let's just make a small irrigation canals and see how far they will go. I mean, how far they will spread the irrigation. Let's make, for the start, just one by one. So 1 by 1 is going only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-ish. Yeah, 5 blocks away from it. But I usually build 2 by 2. So let's try that. I either build 2 by 2 or 3 deep and 2 wide. That's my usual sizes. And does it help? Let's see how far it is going now. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 blocks of irrigation. That's not bad. And you can still have this nice canal like this, or whatever style you like. So now with the sluices, you can have a canal like this, or just with the levees too deep, they will block all the contamination, and you can be sending water other way, where you want to irrigate your land, and don't be bothered with the bad tide. If it happens and this will get contaminated, all this area will be perfectly fine, as long as you don't pump that water out, of course. So contamination barrier works a little bit differently than from the irrigation barrier, so that's the folktails has contamination barrier, and iron teeth has that irrigation barrier. Irrigation barrier for iron teeth blocks both water and bad water contamination. Folktail, on the other hand, blocks only contamination from the bad water and will not stop irrigating your land, which is really nice. And the levees works perfectly the same for the both of the folktails or iron teeth. And they are a viable solution too to blocking contamination, especially if you don't have access to more advanced materials like the treated planks. And the contamination barrier for the folktails doesn't cost treated planks but metal blocks. So that may be even more expensive than the treated planks. It depends on your production and access to resources. So that's some of the ways how to block the contamination, or you can, if you have access to terrain blocks, you can even increase your land height, but you will be having a hard time to irrigating it from bottom to top. It still will get contaminated, as you can see here, but the irrigation is not reaching as far as before, but neither the contamination. So maybe this is another solution that you can use, like building a little bit higher above the ground. And then when you have explosives, you can just make a little pond in the middle and fill it up with the water like this. Put a platform in and fluid dump, and you can use this to fill it up with water. You see, if we fill this up with the water, it's perfectly irrigated. And now maybe use the contamination barrier on the side. That will stop contamination, or maybe use the levees to block it off. There are so many solutions to this problem, and it's only up to you and your imagination what you can do, try, and whatnot. Let's try building levees just here on this level, if it will help. It doesn't seem to be helping, because the bad water is seeping through the bottom blocks, it seems. What if we build the barrier down here in a river? That's not helping either, because still these blocks are getting contaminated. I mean those blocks that are beneath the levees. So let's get rid of this and the levees and make another layer here. So we will have 2 layers of the levees. I was doing this on my playthrough on the 1000 Island when there is plenty of bad water. And as you can see, this perfectly works. You can build paths here or whatever you need. Maybe some bad water pumps on the side, and this is all corruption or contamination free. This corner is only getting contaminated from this side here. And that will be all. So I hope I helped you a little bit, or maybe inspired you to some new designs or how to use it. If you have any questions, please leave that in comments down below, and I will see you in the next one. Have a nice day, bye bye, and take care of your bad water.